Discover how a hidden, heartfelt connection on a blind date transformed her life in just 3 days. Emily's eyes darted across the busy grocery store, scanning the aisles for the 8th time that evening. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, competing with the symphony of chatter and the sharp beeps of registers. The weight of the world sat heavy on her shoulders. Single mom, full-time worker, and the pressure from her father gnawed at her heart. At 30, faced with unpaid bills and her son Charlie's pleading eyes for help on his homework, her dreams felt miles away, a mirage in the distance. As she clocked in for another late shift, her best friend Lisa had nudged her towards a blind date, hoping to ignite a spark. "You need this, Em," she'd insisted. But Emily had hesitated, fear threading through her thoughts. That night, sitting across from Mike in the retro diner, nostalgia wrapped itself around her. The red vinyl seats and 50s memorabilia whispered echoes of simpler times. He had a humor that rolled off his tongue like sweet coffee. Every laugh shared chipped away at her defenses. Yet beneath his charming grin lay the shadows of a battle-worn past, a quiet resilience that reminded her of her own struggles. They traded stories, his about serving overseas and mine about juggling late shifts and Charlie's soccer games. Laughter erupted, raw and genuine, stitching a fragile bond. Memories of loss danced through her mind, tethering her to a sorrow she thought she'd buried. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. But just as hope flickered, Emily choked on her pulse of fear, something dark and nagging. The differences in their lives clawed at her. When Mike leaned in closer, sharing a joke, something in her clenched. What would he think of her chaotic life? The mounting bills, her father's disapproval hung like a storm cloud. She retreated, snuffing the fire that had ignited. He wasn't just a man, he was a reminder of everything she thought she could never have. Then a phone call shattered the moment, her father's voice straining through the phone, urgent, demanding. A family emergency pulled her back into a world where loyalty clashed with her own desires. Racing feelings twisted in her chest. Standing there, her heart thudded in sync with the ticking clock. Could she sacrifice the flicker of connection she'd found with Mike for the familiar family ties that suffocated her? The diner, once a sanctuary, Emily stood teetering on the edge, torn between what was expected and the thrilling possibility of love. Would she dive into this new world, or let the chains of her past drag her back? As silence settled, tension hung thick in the air. Each breath felt like a choice. Could love take root amidst their scars? Would they both dare to cultivate that fragile bond, or let fear dictate their fates? Heart racing, she pondered her next move, aware that whatever came next would define her essence. Emily's fingers trembled as she ended the call, her heart racing with the weight of her father's demands. She tried to focus on Mike's face, but shadows of doubt clouded her vision. He looked at her, concern etching his features. The warmth they shared moments ago felt like ashes. I need to go," she stuttered, her voice barely above a whisper. The words tasted bitter in her mouth, yet inside, a part of her was grateful to retreat back to familiarity, even if it meant surrendering the flicker of hope she had felt with him. "Is everything okay?" Mike's eyes searched her face, a tapestry of compassion and intrigue. "Yeah, just family stuff." She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Family can be tough," he said, his voice dropping as he leaned back. "I get it." The conversation took a heavy turn, and Emily felt the brief connection slipping through her fingers like grains of sand. Moments later, she stood, her heart a tempest. "I'm really sorry." As she walked away, the diner door chimed behind her. Cool air hit her like a slap, sending shivers down her spine. Emily felt the thrill of possibility churn within her, battling against the weight of obligation. The night was young, but the joy she'd tasted had already run cold. At home, the reality of Charlie's unfinished homework awaited her. The moment she walked through the door, the chaos of her life wrapped around her like a well-worn blanket. "Mom, I need help," Charlie's voice echoed down the hall. Setting her purse down, Emily took a deep breath, steeling herself for the evening's demands. The world outside vanished, replaced by scattered toys and schoolbooks clawing for her attention. She pushed thoughts of Mike deep into the back of her mind. She had a son to care for and responsibilities to fulfill. But as she helped Charlie with his math problems, snippets of their conversations replayed in her mind. How easily he'd made her laugh. What would it be like to share more moments like those? She couldn't help but wish for a different life, one where she could embrace love without reservations. Charlie's laughter brought her comfort, but the emptiness lingered just beneath the surface. Hours later, after the chores were done, she sank onto her bed, anxiety swirling. The glow of her phone pulsed softly in the darkness, and a message pinged. A simple "Hi" from Mike. Her heart leaped wildly. Did he feel the connection too? Despite wanting to ignore it, she felt the familiar pull to reply. Hesitation wrapped around her like a noose, but hope kicked in. With shaking hands, she typed a response. "Hey, sorry about earlier. Just a lot going on." As she hit send, her breath caught in her chest. Mike's reply came fast. "No worries, family first, right?" A smile broke through her anxiety, but the shadow of her father's expectations loomed large. Could she actually let herself open up to this man? The question tugged at her heart. The realization hit. If she continued letting fears dictate her choices, she'd miss out on something that could be beautiful. In that moment, Emily knew she had a decision to make. Would she cling to the chains of obligation, or step into the unpredictable embrace of love? The weight of the world couldn't drown out the whispers of her heart any longer. As sleep finally claimed her, she wondered what tomorrow would bring. Could love truly bloom in the unlikeliest of places? Emily drifted off to sleep, unaware that a twist awaited her, one that would either shatter the fragile hopes she had begun to nurture, or fan the flames of possibility into something real. The next morning felt different, as if the sun shone just a little brighter. Emily awoke with a flutter of hope beating in her chest, like a tiny bird testing its wings for the first time. Her phone lay next to her, the screen still glowing from last night's message. She smiled, the ghost of Mike's simple words swirling in her mind. Family first, that's what he said. Did that mean he understood her struggle? In the kitchen, she poured coffee and watched Charlie gleefully devour his breakfast. Bits of toast crumbled cheerfully around his plate. His laughter filled the room, wrapping around her like a warm hug. She paused for a moment, just looking at him. He was her anchor, but that anchor didn't have to weigh her down. Perhaps, just perhaps, she could offer him a life with a bit more joy, a life colored by love. "Mom, when's my soccer practice?" Charlie's voice broke her reverie. "Later tonight, sweetheart. I'll take you. Don't worry. Can I invite Casey? He's super cool. He plays like a pro." The excitement in her son's eyes melted her heart. "Of course. Just be sure to ask him to bring his cleats. We wouldn't want any last-minute surprises." As she cleared the dishes, her mind drifted. What would Mike think of Charlie? Would he like him? Emily wrestled with the thought of bringing someone new into their lives. Could she afford to take that chance? Then the phone buzzed again, startling her. It was Mike, another message lighting the screen. "How about breakfast tomorrow? I know a great spot." Her heart raced, so casual, yet filled with promise. The weight of the invitation hung in the air, pulling her like gravity. Could she really meet him again, face to face? She chewed her lip, all the while imagining what a morning could feel like. sharing pancakes, laughter, unfolding his layers, just like she longed to unfold her own. "Mom?" Charlie's innocent question drew her back into the present. "Are you okay? You look funny." Emily chuckled, the tension easing off her shoulders. "I'm great, just thinking about something fun we can do, that's all." She paused and tapped her fingers on the table, the phone in her other hand feeling heavier with each moment. Taking a deep breath, she finally typed her response. "Breakfast sounds great. What time?" Charlie cheered, bringing her back to life, and she couldn't help but smile wider. As they went about their day, the prospect of the next morning lingered, filling the air with possibility and vulnerability. She let herself dream, if only for a moment, about what life could be like if she allowed herself to be happy. Later, as she tucked Charlie into bed, she hesitated before saying goodnight. "Hey, buddy, what would you think about me introducing you to someone special?" Charlie's eyes widened in excitement. "Like a superhero or a princess?" She laughed lightly. "Something like that. Just someone new. How do you feel about that?" "Cool. Can he be my friend too?" His innocent enthusiasm wrapped around her heart, a reminder that love could come in many forms. Laying in bed afterward, Emily felt a mix of trepidation and excitement swirling within her. She still had her father's expectations weighing on her, and now the fear of ruining the moment with Mike loomed large. But the thrill of possibility sent tendrils of warmth through her chest. Could she really step into this? As she drifted off, she envisioned what the day could bring. Would it be the start of something beautiful, or simply another moment lost in the maze of her careful life? Emily had begun to choose. But what if the truth she had been avoiding all along was closer than she thought? The morning sun streamed through Emily's bedroom window, warming her skin with its golden light. As she sat up, the butterflies in her stomach fluttered wildly. Today was the day. She kept replaying Mike's simple invitation in her mind. Breakfast. In the kitchen, she felt a different kind of energy, an anticipation that thrummed in the air. Charlie danced around her, humming a tune from his favorite show, blissfully unaware of the quiet storm brewing within her. She made scrambled eggs, distracted yet determined, glancing at the clock every few minutes. "Mom, are you okay?" Charlie's voice broke through her thoughts again as he swung his legs from the breakfast stoop. "Absolutely, just thinking about today, that's all," she replied, her heart racing. Her mind was a whirlwind of possibilities. What would they talk about? Should she dress casually or make an effort? She rid herself of doubt, focusing instead on how different things could be. She wanted to believe this was a step forward, a chance not only for her, but for Charlie too. After breakfast, they headed out to the soccer field for practice. Charlie dashed ahead to join his friends, laughter spilling from him like sunlight through leaves. Emily felt lighter as she watched him, her worries momentarily forgotten. She snapped a few pictures on her phone, capturing his joy, wishing she could bottle it up and carry it into her meeting with Mike. As practice went on, her phone buzzed again. Mike, of course. "Looking forward to it. Got a spot picked out. Meet at 9? Her heart leaped. She quickly typed back an enthusiastic yes. Before she knew it, practice was winding down, and she was calling Charlie over. "Hey, kiddo, can you give me a hand with something?" she said, knowing this would serve as a perfect distraction. "Of course. What's up?" he grinned, blue eyes sparkling. "We're going to do a little apartment cleaning before the big breakfast." "No way, we just cleaned," he protested. She chuckled. "But now we have a reason to make it sparkle." With a playful groan, he followed her to their shared space, helping shift cushions and straighten things up. They put on music, dancing around as they cleaned, the air thick with laughter and the smell of Charlie's favorite cinnamon candles. When they finally flopped onto the couch, breathless and happy, Emily's phone chimed again. Glancing at the screen, she felt a wave of warmth. Mike had sent a photo of the cafe, sunny, welcoming, a promise of laughter and connection. "Mom, can I tell you something?" Charlie's sudden seriousness pulled her from her happy daydream. "Of course, buddy. What's on your mind?" "I like this Mike guy already. He seems cool. Can we keep him?" Emily blinked back the unexpected tears. "We'll just have to see, all right?" His innocent trust rekindled her resolve. They both deserved more happiness in their lives. Later that evening, she stood in front of the mirror, choosing an outfit. She settled on a simple dress that flowed around her, comfortable yet vibrant. "Ready or not, here I go," she whispered, heart pounding in unison with each step towards the door. As she slid into her car, nerves danced in her stomach. She thought of Charlie's enthusiasm, his simple desire for her happiness, and the possibilities that awaited her. But as she drove, a thought suddenly struck her. What if meeting Mike didn't just change her? What if it changed everything? Pulling into the cafe lot, she took a deep breath and scanned the area. What she saw next set her heart racing. Mike standing by a table, looking as if he had been waiting for this moment his entire life. And just then, the door to transformation swung wide open. Would she be ready to walk through? Emily stepped out of the car, her breath hitching in her throat as her eyes locked onto Mike. There he was, a warm smile lighting up his face, and somehow that smile seemed to melt the storm of apprehension swirling inside her. She took a deep breath, smoothing down her dress as she walked toward him. Each step felt heavier, yet more exhilarating, as though she was stepping into an adventure she never knew she craved. The sound of her heels tapping against the pavement echoed in her ears, harmonizing with her quickening heartbeat. "Hey," Mike greeted her, his voice warm and inviting. "You made it." "Of course," she replied, forcing an easy smile though her insides were a jumble of nerves. "Thanks for inviting me." He gestured to the cozy table set for two beneath a blooming awning. The cafe bustled around them, a hum of life filling the air with an exhilarating energy. Birds chirped nearby, almost as if they were cheering her on. As they took their seats, Mike leaned in slightly, his eyes sparkling with intrigue. "So, how was your day?" Emily shared snippets about Charlie, about soccer practice, and their impromptu cleaning dance party. She watched as Mike leaned in, genuinely interested, laughter spilling between them like a shared secret. With every exchange, a warmth blossomed in her chest, competing with her trepidation. "Sounds like a fun day," Mike said, eyes crinkling at the edges. "I have to admit, I was a bit nervous about this." "Nervous?" Emily laughed, surprised. "I thought I was the only one." "Yeah," he confessed, "but I'm glad we're here. This feels nice." Nice. The word felt too small for the enormity of the moment. Emily realized she was hanging onto every word he spoke as if it held the promise of something more, a connection kindling between them, bright and hopeful. They ordered their meals, and as they chatted, Emily found herself opening up in ways she hadn't anticipated. The exchange felt like a dance, each laugh an invitation to step closer, each shared thought weaving their lives together. "Can I ask you something?" Mike said after a pause, his tone suddenly serious. "What made you want to come today?" Her heart raced, tinged with vulnerability. She thought of Charlie, of the glimmer of hope that had sparked within her. "I guess it felt like a chance to explore something new, a step forward for me and for my son." His stare softened, and Emily could see understanding reflected in his eyes. It was comforting, the warmth of his gaze anchoring her swirling thoughts. "I think new beginnings can be beautiful. I'm really happy you decided to take that step." She felt a flutter of something deeper, a connection that resonated with her heart. For a moment, everything else in the cafe faded away. It was just the two of them, suspended in a bubble of possibilities. "Do you believe in signs?" Mike suddenly asked, tilting his head slightly as if intrigued by the thought. Emily hesitated, pondering the question, as a smile spread across her face. "I don't know, but maybe." She paused, the realization dawning on her. Perhaps every choice they made led them here, to this moment. Maybe we create our own signs through the choices we make. As their meals arrived, Mike's eyes lit up with mischief. "Okay, let's have some fun. What's one thing you've always wanted to do but haven't yet?" Emily's heart raced with the spark of the unexpected. She thought about it for a moment, then chuckled softly. "Skydiving." "Seriously? That's awesome. How about we do it together someday? The thought made her laugh, a joyful sound that felt foreign yet thrilling. Only if we can start small, like maybe just a hike to begin with. Deal, he agreed, laughing along with her. As they clinked their glasses, a shared promise hung in the air, drenched in possibility. But just as Emily settled into this new rhythm, her phone buzzed, interrupting the magic. Glancing down, her heart sank as she saw Charlie's name light up the screen. "What is it?" Mike asked, concern flickering in his eyes. "It's Charlie," she sighed, feeling a mix of obligation and love. "I need to check this." What awaited her on the other end could change everything. As she opened the message, a flutter of anxiety took hold. Did something happen? Why was he reaching out during their meal? Emily looked back at Mike, the connection they shared suddenly overshadowed by the weight of motherhood. What if the adventure they started today was about to veer into uncharted territory? Emily's fingers shook slightly as she read the message on her phone. The words swirled in her mind, each one carrying a weight she wasn't prepared for. Charlie was fine, thank goodness, but it was the unexpected request buried in the text that unraveled her calm. "Mom, I need you to come home now. I really need to talk," it read. A knot twisted in her stomach. It was more than just the usual chatter. Something felt urgent, charged with an emotional tone she couldn't ignore. She looked up at Mike, whose expression shifted from curiosity to concern. "Everything okay?" he probed gently, leaning forward as he realized her discomfort. "Charlie, he wants to talk," she replied, attempting to mask her worry with a tight smile. But Mike caught the distress in her eyes. "Do you need to go?" he asked softly. Emily hesitated, torn between the warmth of their budding connection and her duty as a mother. I don't know. It could be important." "I understand," Mike said, offering a reassuring nod. There was something solid in his gaze, grounding her amidst the chaos. "Should I text him back, or—" She trailed off, words failing her as she glanced between her phone and his supportive expression. Suddenly, the thought of leaving felt like a heavy anchor, weighing down the possibility of what was starting to bloom between them. "Why don't you step away and see what he needs? I can wait," Mike encouraged, and his sincerity only intensified her mixed feelings. Taking a deep breath, she nodded and rose from the table. As she walked away, a rush of conflicting emotions washed over her. She stepped outside the cafe, the warm sun hitting her face, a stark contrast to the turmoil in her heart. The laughter and chatter from inside faded, the world blurring as she focused on the screen. "Hey, Charlie, what's going on? I'm out for a bit," she typed back, hoping to ease the growing anxiety gnawing at her chest. The seconds stretched into what felt like hours before he replied, the tiny dots on her screen dragging out her anticipation. When the reply finally came, it was brief. "Just need you here, please." A load of worry settled in her stomach, heavier than before. She wished she could revel in the moments that were happening just a step away, but something inside told her she had to be there for him. With a sigh, she texted back, "I'm on my way." The decision felt both right and heartbreaking at the same time. She wanted Mike's warmth, his laughter, and that undeniable connection, but she also needed to be the mother Charlie relied on, especially if he needed her now. Emily headed back inside, her heart heavy but purposefully determined. "Hey, I think I need to head back. Charlie needs me," she explained, lifting her eyes to meet his. Mike studied her for a moment, concern knitting his brow. "Is everything okay? Do you want me to come with you?" "No, it's best I go alone. I'm sorry. I really wanted to enjoy this," she replied, sadness lacing her voice. He offered a soft smile, masking his disappointment well. "You have to do what you need to do. Family comes first." "Thank you," she managed, feeling a swell of gratitude toward him. As they walked out together, the world felt both brighter and darker, filled with the promise she didn't want to let go of yet also marked with the weight of responsibilities she couldn't escape. "Maybe we can do this again," Mike suggested as they reached her car, his eyes filled with warmth still. "I'd like that," she replied, genuinely, the words tasting like hope. As she climbed inside the car, she glanced at him one last time, taking in the sight of his smile. The bright morning suddenly felt laced with shadows. What had started as a potential chapter in her life was interrupted by the one that had always been there, waiting for her. As she drove away, her mind whirled with thoughts of Charlie and Mike, wondering if any connection, old or new, could withstand what was to come. And just as she turned the corner, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from Charlie. Her heart raced as she answered, fully aware she was stepping into a moment that could change everything. What could he possibly want to say? Would this solidify her role as a mother, or force her to confront everything she feared? The moment the call connected, Charlie's voice broke through, laden with urgency. "Mom, please, can you just hurry?" There was a crack in his tone that sent ice through Emily's veins. "I'm on my way, sweetheart. Just tell me what's wrong. Are you okay?" He took a shaky breath. "I don't think I am. Just come home." Each word he spoke felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. As she drove, she fought to keep panic from flooding her mind. Was it school, friends, something worse? The questions spiraled in her head, overwhelming her with dread. Pulling into the driveway, she saw the familiar shape of their family home looming ahead, but it felt different. It was no longer just a house. It was the place where Charlie needed her most. She rushed inside, her breath hitching as she noticed the empty bags of chips sprawled across the living room and the video game paused on the TV. A sense of something being off settled in. "Charlie," she called, her voice echoing slightly in the stillness. A shuffle of feet brought her into the kitchen, where she found him slumped at the table, his gaze fixed on the unfinished homework in front of him. His shoulders were hunched, and his expression seemed lost. "Hey, buddy." She stepped closer, feeling the weight of his silence. "What's going on?" He glanced up at her, and for a split second, his eyes were pools of confusion and pain. "I don't know how to tell you this." The words hung between them, heavy. Taking a seat across from him, she reached for his hand. "Just say it. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." Charlie inhaled deeply, like he was summoning all his courage. I got into a fight." Emily's heart dropped. "What? With who?" "A kid at school. It was stupid, Mom. Charlie, it doesn't matter what he did. Are you hurt?" Her instinct was to protect, to shield him from any harm. "No, I'm fine. But I didn't just stand by. I fought back." His voice cracked slightly, and she could see the waves of fear and shame flooding his expression. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she urged gently. "I can help you deal with this." "I didn't want to be a disappointment." He looked down, and in that moment, she felt the ache of his words clawing at her. "You're always so busy, being you, and I thought it would be better if I just managed." "Charlie," she breathed, trying to maintain her own composure. "You could never disappoint me. You're my son, and I'm here because I care about you. Fighting isn't the answer. We need to talk to someone about this." He looked up, his eyes glistening, and she could see how much it meant to him to just be held, to feel understood. She wanted to soothe him, but she felt the edges of her own heartache too. Mirrored the struggles she had as a parent, the fear of not being enough. And just like that, she realized that this moment, as scary as it was, might be the beginning of something new for both of them, a chance to reconnect, to build a bridge over their unspoken fears. "Let's sit here for a minute, together," she said softly, offering her presence, her understanding. He could lean on her now. Both needed it so desperately. As they sat in silence, she felt a shift within herself, a strength igniting. Maybe this was the conversation that would change everything for both the mother and son. In that stillness, another part of her was aching, considering Mike and what could have been. Could she still balance this whirlwind of life and new beginnings? But instead of dwelling on what was left behind, she focused on Charlie's hand in hers, the warmth of shared vulnerability. Then the doorbell rang, cutting through the weight of the moment like a hot knife through butter. Who could it be? The sense of uncertainty settled back in, setting up a new question. Would this visitor bring the comfort they needed, or more complications to navigate? Emily's heart raced as she exchanged a worried glance with Charlie. The doorbell's echo clung to the air, a sharp reminder of the outside world intruding on their fragile moment. She could see the flicker of anxiety in his eyes, and instinctively she squeezed his hand tighter. "Stay here," she whispered, more to reassure herself than him. She rose from the table, her heart still thudding unevenly. What could possibly await them on the other side of the door? With purpose, she crossed the living room, her mind racing through scenarios. Was it Charlie's principal, a neighbor, or something else entirely? She opened the door slowly, bracing herself. Standing there was a young man, slightly out of breath, with tousled hair and a tentative smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Hi, is Charlie here?" "Yeah, that's him," she said, stepping aside to let the young man in. "You're Ben," he replied, glancing over his shoulder as though he expected someone else to follow. "We're supposed to work on a group project together?" "Project?" Charlie echoed, brows knitting together. "I thought we were doing that on Friday." "Yeah, well, it was supposed to be, but David said he wanted to get a head start." Ben shrugged, and Emily caught the hint of unease in his demeanor. "I figured I'd come over." Charlie's body language shifted. He seemed more like a kid caught off guard before a test than someone eager to collaborate. "Okay," he said slowly, trying to mask the tension in his voice. Emily felt the familiar pang of protectiveness. She wanted to say something to Ben, something that might make him aware of Charlie's struggles, to reroute the conversation to safer waters. But she held back, recognizing that Charlie needed to navigate this on his own. "Why don't you guys go upstairs and work in Charlie's room?" Emily suggested, forcing a smile. "I'll be right here if you need anything." After a brief hesitation, Charlie nodded, leading Ben away with a half-hearted wave. As the door to his room clicked shut, the air felt heavier. Emily leaned against the wall, emotions swirling as she replayed the last few minutes. She could hear the quiet murmurs from upstairs, but those words were drowned out by the thumping of her heart. Was this the right time for Charlie to mingle with friends? Would this just complicate things more? Then she remembered that evening's conversation. They'd just touched on things that mattered, a frail bond beginning to form again. She hoped Charlie would hold on to that, even with this new distraction. The minutes ticked by as she gathered her thoughts. Should she check on them, or give him some space? But then a sudden high-pitched laugh broke free from the room, the sound bright and unexpected. Emily found herself smiling. Laughter felt good. It felt like a lift, an opening. Maybe this was just what Charlie needed, a reminder that life could still have moments of joy despite everything they were facing. Yet, just as she felt that flicker of hope, reality crashed back in. The world outside demanded attention. There were bills to pay, appointments to keep, and the finality of what had happened with Mike loomed over her like a cloud. In that moment, the door to Charlie's room opened, and Ben stepped out, a nervous energy rolling off him. "Can I talk to you for a second?" he said, his expression shifting from casual to serious in the blink of an eye. Emily straightened, suddenly alert. "Of course, is everything all right?" Ben hesitated, glancing back toward the closed door, then focused on her with a weight she hadn't expected. "I think Charlie might need some help," he confessed, his voice low but steady. Her heart skipped a beat. What did he see that she hadn't? She stood at the edge of uncertainty, her instincts screaming at her to trust him, but the worry gnawed at her. Help with what? Ben opened his mouth, and for a split second, she felt they were on the brink of something that would shed light on all the shadows looming around them. Just come listen, please. What could he possibly say that would change the course of this night? The door swung closed behind them, and a rush of weight threatened to drown her. Was this new connection about to unravel even more truths? Emily followed Ben into Charlie's room, her thoughts swirling like a storm. The laughter that had filled the air moments ago faded, replaced by an uneasy silence that felt thick and heavy. She glanced around the room, taking in the scattered textbooks and a half-finished puzzle on the floor. "Is everything okay?" she asked again, trying to keep her voice steady. Ben shifted on his feet, clearly wrestling with his words. It's just, I don't know if Charlie's really okay, he finally blurted out. The sincerity in his eyes made her stomach twist. He doesn't talk much in class. Well, hardly at all, really. I've noticed he gets really quiet, like he's, I don't know, withdrawn? Her heart sank. That was the last thing she wanted to hear. Charlie? She murmured softly, testing the sound of his name. What do you mean? Ben took a deep breath, collecting himself. I just think he could use someone to talk to, someone who understands. We were working on the project, and I caught him staring out the window, lost in thought. When I asked him if he was okay, he kind of shrugged me off. Or maybe he was just tired, Emily interjected, desperately searching for reasons to dismiss Ben's concerns. He's been going through a lot, and it can be overwhelming. I understand that, Ben replied gently, but it seems like he's hiding it. I can feel it. I thought maybe if you could talk to him, he faltered, looking back toward the closed door again, as if Charlie might suddenly appear. Suddenly, Emily felt a sharp pang of awareness in the pit of her stomach. Perhaps Charlie needed more than a casual conversation. Maybe he needed someone to step in, someone to bridge that gap. But how could she do that without overstepping? Have you been friends long? She asked Ben, trying to redirect the conversation. Not really, he admitted. We just met through this project. I never noticed anything before, but now, I don't know. I don't want him to feel alone, especially after what he's been through. It's just hard to watch him suffer in silence. The sincerity in Ben's voice struck a chord within Emily. Could it be that Charlie was struggling more than she realized? I can talk to him, she offered, a slight tremor in her own voice. But we're still working on things. Sometimes it takes time to get through everything. Ben nodded, a hint of hope flickering in his expression. That's all I want, just to know he's not alone. I think he really wants to open up, but he doesn't know how. As if sensing their conversation, the door creaked open slightly. Charlie stepped out, raking a hand through his hair, his expression caught between curiosity and concern. "What's going on?" he asked, the unease threading through his voice. Emily took a moment to gauge his eyes. They were searching for answers, for safety, for something she wasn't sure she could provide. "Ben just wanted to check in with us," she said lightly, shifting the tone back toward ease. "How's the project coming along?" Charlie shrugged, but she noticed a flicker of relief crossing his face at the change of subject. "It's fine, I guess. We were just figuring out some ideas." Emily caught Ben's eye. A silent agreement passed between them. She wasn't ready to dive deeper just yet, but now, the reality of Charlie's struggles loomed large. "I'll be right here if you guys need anything," she said, plastering on a smile, though inside, uncertainty swirled like a tempest. "Thanks, Emily," Charlie replied, and as he stepped back inside, Emily felt a flicker of hope, but also a gnawing doubt. What if Ben was right? What if Charlie was screaming inside, and she was missing the signs? The laughter from the room faded into a dull hum, leaving Emily standing in quiet apprehension. What if the next conversation was the key to unlocking everything in Charlie's heart? And would she be ready when that moment finally came? As the evening unfolded, Emily found herself caught in a web of thoughts, her heart heavy with uncertainty. She leaned against the kitchen counter, listening to the muffled sounds of Charlie and Ben working together upstairs. Each laugh that punctuated the air felt bittersweet. Her protective instincts hummed beneath her skin, reminding her that she needed to pay attention, not just to her son, but to the silent struggles that may be hiding behind his youthful facade. "What's the plan, Mom?" she muttered to herself, frustration mixing with determination. She could feel the weight of the world still pressing down on her shoulders, the daunting expectations from her father, and the memories of her past still taunting her. With a resolution brewing inside, she decided enough was enough. She needed to communicate. She needed Charlie to know he could share his fears with her, fears that had once confined her like a cage. She recalled the heaviness of her own heart and how acknowledging it had finally started to lift that weight. Okay, let's do this, she whispered, steeling herself. She climbed the stairs, each step imbuing her with a sense of purpose. She stood outside Charlie's door, taking a deep breath before knocking gently. "Hey, you two, can I come in?" she called out, her voice steady. "Yeah, sure," Charlie responded, a hint of excitement breaking through. As she stepped into the room, the atmosphere shifted. Charlie and Ben were surrounded by scraps of paper, markers strewn all over the place, evidence of an effort to create something meaningful. It brought a smile to her face. "What's up?" Ben asked with a friendly grin. Emily's heart warmed at the thought of her son making friends. "Just wanted to check in. How's it going?" She turned to Charlie, her eyes softening. "I'm proud of you for working on the project." Charlie shrugged, but she could see a glow in his cheeks. Perhaps there was hope after all. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Kincaid," Ben said, his voice earnest. "Charlie has some cool ideas for our project. He really knows his stuff." "Thanks, Ben," Charlie said shyly, but the pride was evident in his eyes. Emily took a step closer, seizing the opportunity. "I could help if you need any extra hands or ideas. I'd love to be involved too." Charlie's eyebrows shot up. "Really, Mom?" His surprise was a light-hearted reminder of the many times she'd prioritized work over involvement with his life. "Of course, I want us to stick together through everything," she said, the conviction in her voice shining bright. Then she turned to Ben again. "It's important to me to support Charlie in whatever he needs, and it's clear you two have a good connection going." Ben nodded, a glimmer of respect in his gaze. "I appreciate that. It's great to see parents engaged." A smile spread across Charlie's face, the weight of his earlier worries slowly lifting. "Can we do a quick brainstorming session tomorrow with you, Mom?" he suggested. "I think it'll help." "That sounds like a blast," Emily replied, feeling her heart swell. As they chatted, Emily felt the walls crumbling, the rigid expectations easing, and a comforting warmth replacing the silence. The laughter flowed between them, each shared moment bridging gaps that she hadn't known existed. But then, just as the atmosphere turned light, the doorbell chimed again, startling them from their amusement. Emily felt her heart sink. Who could it be? She stepped back, eyes darting toward Charlie, uncertainty flooding back in. "Stay here," she instructed. "I'll check it." This time, she approached the door with cautious optimism. As she opened it, her breath caught. There stood Mike, looking casual yet handsome, with a hopeful expression on his face. "Hey, I hope it's okay that I stopped by." "Mike, of course." Her surprise softened into warmth. "This is an unexpected but welcome visit." Charlie appeared over her shoulder, his eyes widening in recognition. "You know Mike?" he exclaimed, an excited lilt to his voice. "Yes, he and I met for breakfast the other day," she explained quickly, feeling a new sense of ease about the connection as it wove itself into her life. "Cool," Charlie replied, moving aside to make space for Mike in the house. "We're working on a school project. You could help too. We can really use some input." Mike's eyes lit up, and for an instant the tension dissolved. "I'd love to help out. I have a few ideas that might be fun." As they gathered back in the room, Emily realized this was the moment she had been waiting for. She watched as Charlie relaxed, his demeanor shifting under Mike's easy confidence. The three of them sat, sharing ideas, laughter breaking through the discomfort that had almost become a habit in their lives. For each concept they tossed around, Emily felt the bonds of their family deepen. Charlie's worries seemed to slip away with the laughter and engagement, and Emily felt a new foundation being laid, a balance of responsibility and joy. It wasn't about perfection. It was about connection, understanding, and transformation. She could still be all the things, a mom, a daughter, and perhaps even a partner, without losing herself in the process. As they wrapped up their brainstorming session, Emily felt her heart swell with pride. She took a moment to soak it all in. Her son, the warmth of friendship blooming between them, and the possibilities that lay ahead. "Thank you, both of you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "For tonight, for opening up. I'm so proud of both of you." And in that moment, Emily knew they would navigate the rocky paths ahead together, turning burdens into bonds and fear into hope. Sometimes, the most hidden parts of life breathed the most vibrant possibilities. Sometimes, transformations began with a simple connection, a blind date leading to friendships, discoveries, and ultimately, love. Now, more than ever, she felt ready to embrace what came next, be it love, challenges, or the unconditional joys of motherhood. Her heart sang with renewed courage. This was the moment. Now, I need you to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.